Hello, hello. Welcome to my world tour slash base tour video. This mod pack is called Space Astronomy. For my subscribers or people who have seen my videos, yes, I've played this pack already, though I didn't do a playthrough because I just wanted to have some freedom without having to record and talk with my microphone. But in this case, this is a base tour world tour. So I want to showcase what I've done in this world because I put quite a bit of time into it. And like any other pack that I have completed, I just want to showcase the things that I've accomplished because why not? All right, before getting into this, for starters, I just want to say that this pack is a mix of Galacticraft and tech mods and base building stuff, such as Z-tones and carpenter's blocks and chisel. Can't forget chisel. Now you can go to different dimensions, specifically space dimensions like Mercury, Venus, and then this pack has an add-on called More Planets where there's additional planets you can explore, like Phronos, Pelagius, Sirius B for some reason. Overall, you can just build a space station or not, explore different planets, have fun. Yeah. Alright. Let's get into the base slash world tour. Now, starting off, I actually used to live in this seasonal forest, Biomes of Plenty mod. I had a lawn base right here with my big reactor and a bunch of machines, Tinker's Construct, and a bunch of chests scattered everywhere. And I had an issue with mobs spawning, obviously, because I don't have a defined base. But the reason I had that set up for like 100 or 200 in-game days is because I was getting all the resources I needed to make this base possible, such as these Z-tone blocks and these gray lamps, which a bit expensive to craft. Needed a bunch of glowstone, so I made sure I had all the tools I needed, like a digiminer from Mechanism, energy cubes, and a jetpack to fly around, and of course a lot of machines to make hundreds and hundreds of stacks of blocks I can use for chiseling, stuff like that. But as you can see now, the entrance here is reclaimed by the seasonal forest. I actually planted a bunch of saplings back, and now you can see that it looks like I didn't touch anything, but I did mess around with this area for a little bit. Now, when starting this world, I actually had a hard time figuring out where I wanted to live. And that is because some of these biomes, I'm not a fan of, like this one right here. This biome right here. Fen. Not really a huge fan. I think I spawned like right around here or something. Right around here. Not a huge fan. I went to many different biomes, as you can see on my journey map here of the world. I went to many different spots before eventually settling over in this seasonal forest, and I apologize for the frame drop, but it's quite laggy, my base. I settled here, and then I didn't know what to do until I thought about this highlands mountain biome here. And I decided, okay, I'm going to make a base within these mountain peaks and I guess more flat areas right here. And I think it worked out. So anyways, let's go inside the base. Now, I'll admit, I'm no builder, but I think I did a good job stepping out of my comfort zone and trying to make something decent. Try to add texture and depth to the walls and ceilings, and I think it looks pretty good for a modded Minecraft base. Now, I do have some inspiration. This is taken from Tekken Main. I've done a playthrough of that. Here's a picture of my Tekken Main base. Not exactly the same, but similar ideas here, like with the pillars here, and especially these lamps. I love these lamps from Project Red Illumination. So that's the entrance, and you notice that this button here is illuminated, but the other three aren't. Might be a bug. I could replace it if I wanted to, but I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of a joke to have this illuminated and the others aren't. I think something went wrong in the world save or something. I don't know what happened with this, but that's besides the point. Now going down here, I have this staircase that goes deeper into the base. And you can see that it doesn't look too bad. I did struggle with this. It took a while to figure out how I wanted to make this, but I don't think I did a bad job with this. The only thing I don't like is the side blocks here. Sticks out a little bit too much, but I think it's fine. Nitpicking a little bit. Alright, and here is the main entrance. I have elevator blocks, and this is like the hub, because this is like the brain of my AE2 network. And I have this lookout point. In the daytime, you could see the sun, or in the night you could see the moon. And I have these cage lamps illuminating the walls so that there are no dark spots. I think it looks quite nice. It's quite interesting to have this. I don't think I've ever made a base in Minecraft with this type of design or setup here. So, yeah, not too bad. Interesting choice, if I do say so myself. So going down here, you can see the white stained semicircle, or circle, not semicircle. Here is where I have all my auto crafting, my storage drives, storage units, and cable managed areas of some sort, and portals, of course, I can't forget that, and my personal space. Let's get into my personal space. I have 2 portals here from Extra Utilities, Deep Dark and The Last Millennium. I'll show this later. I have my laser drill farm in this dimension. Show that a little later. I have my enchanting area right here. This is an OP mod, Enchanting Plus. I can just enchant whatever I need. And I have a liquid XP bedrockium drum. Here's my golden bag of holdings. Variety of tools here. Everything I needed to do what I needed to do in this world. I can use XP shower from open blocks. I place it on it, and I can collect experience to enchant. Use the rare earth magnet. And I do have some pet chickens that I'll explain later. I used to have 3, and now I only have 2 for some reason. But yeah, enchanting area, armor stand, just in case if I die. But these 2 jetpacks have soulbound on them, so. But this is just a backup, just in case if I were to run out of energy in this. Which I do have a way of charging remotely. And I have my Tinker's area right here. Nothing too crazy. I have lava fabricators constantly supplying lava. And here I have my Tinker's King Slime tools. Now, I try to collect everything that you can get, every single tool or weapon of some sort from a King Slime boss. And how I did that, I'll show you. Bear with me, might be a little bit laggy. Alright. Okay, so right here I have, as you can see, a bunch of baby slimes here. Blue slimes. I would have a Quarry Plus spawner and a spawner placed via a portal spawner from MFR. Mine Factory Reloaded. And I would farm those king slimes, and they do give you decent XP for sure. And you can see I have a bunch of tools here that I dropped. Not sure why I didn't kill every single one of these pink slimes, blue slimes, but yeah. And you notice here I have a pit of zombie pigmen for whatever reason. I think I maybe pissed one of them off. Oh well. Doesn't really concern me. Alright, anyways, I also have the last villager from the portal to the last millennium. I brought him here. Now he just sits in the corner on top of a glowstone nook. He doesn't go anywhere else but here. Now, in my previous playthrough, and yes, I will bring that up multiple times because I like to make comparisons here and there. For some reason, this guy despawned or maybe fell off the platform in this dimension. I'm not sure what happens, but might as well bring him here, not let him die. Even though he's useless. Yeah, he has no trades. Alright, I think that concludes the personal space. I have my bed and chest here. I usually AFK in here for safety reasons. Alrighty. As you can see, this is a decent sized cube. I have storage monitors here and then all these terminals here. Crafting, pattern, interface, fluid. And I've changed the terminal style. As you can see, I have a decent amount of items. If I search ingot, hundreds of thousands of different types of ingots like gold, silver, lead, osmium. More than enough. We'll never need this many resources ever, but it's like a challenge and goal that I had to get at least 100,000 of some of the most important resources for crafting and whatnot. And here, same thing, terminal with a bunch of crafts here. Pattern terminal. You can see here. A lot of patterns. Different types of crafts. Interface terminal, just check things out. And a ME fluid terminal. And I have it on the both sides with pattern coders as well. Delete that. As you can see, storage monitors. I have a bunch on both sides. 8 on each side. Iron, copper, tin, etc. Now, I have them unlocked. I could have locked them, but this is fine. I'm not messing with them. Just want to see what's going on here. And the other side, I have mob drops. Oh boy, 666 Niter. Oh boy. Pink slime. Halloween. Wither skeleton skulls. Ender pearls, blaze rods. A lot of gunpowder. This is a lot. 8.4 million. Now, I used to have more sand. I used to have more gunpowder than sand, stone, glass, but because of my 5 times ore processing for mechanism, now these outpace the gunpowder. But as you can see, the gunpowder amount is still going up. Cobblestone, 286 million. And up here, I use these carpenter's hatches to act as inside. Accessing inside is kind of hard, it seems. And I have a bunch of things going on here, like my security terminal and my wireless access point. Tesseract for sending ender pearls to my world anchors from right here, from Railcraft to chunk load the base. I would have used FTB chunks or the utilities tool from that, but it's not installed in this pack. Or at least, I don't know if it's on 1.7, but it's not a thing in this pack. Can I get out? Yes. Alright, okay. And over here I have my 4 CPUs, 64K crafting storages, and a bunch of co-processing units. I didn't need more than 4. Never needed more than 2. So this is fine. Or actually 3. Or 4. I'm not sure, but I have 4. And yeah, it looks pretty organized here. Try to make sure everything was nice and neat. You can't see the underneath. You can't see the connections. Alright, and before I get to the auto crafting, let's just show this. I'll show this. This is my first use of P2P tunnels, and I'm not sure if I use them correctly or if this is the best way to use them or not. But I just wanted to see if I can have a little bit better cable management, because from my last playthrough, I had a spaghetti mess. It wasn't great. Yeah, here's a picture of that. But I think now it's a little bit better, for sure. Different colors. Sometimes I would need more channels here, so I'd add more. Overall, I think it looks pretty good. And if I look over here, as you can see, try to make sure the smart cables and the dense cables don't overlap with the resonant flux ducts. Yes, I don't use mechanism universal cables just because it does cause a lot of lag. Alright, and over here I decided to use ender chests. In my last playthrough I used tesseracts to send and import buses and export buses. Like, as you can see, my AE2 system is collecting a bunch of different types of ingots, blocks, goodies, I would say. And other ender chests like this was sent to my tree farm that you saw a little bit earlier. Bone meal. It's automatically crafting the bone meal with these crafting card. I have no problem with the bones. Bone stock is still going up. Moving on. Here is my AE2 auto crafting area. I have 9 of these advanced inscribers, whatever you want to call them. And each one produces a different type of processor, like an engineering processor, calculation processor, and logic processor. Maybe not the best setup, or I don't know. I just wanted to make sure they're all spread out because in my last playthrough, I had them all together, and I think I ran into some issues with that. I was trying to autocraft 64K storage components or whatever they're called. Anyways, over here I have a crusher mechanism so I can make seeds to grow these crystals, pure crystals, and Flux crystal, and this crystal growth chamber. And this is an OP mod, E2 stuff, combination with these advanced inscribers. Pretty advanced stuff. And I have my chargers here. As you can see, I try to make sure everything was nice and organized. I have a bunch of covers here and there, just so that you don't see holes into the underground part where you might see the stone walls and the dirt and ores sticking out. And yeah, I think I did a pretty good job with that. Over here is this area is the thermal expansion auto crafting. I have fluid transposers here, magma crucibles with these fluid level emitters. And how this works is I have 3 magma crucibles, and these fluid level emitters make sure that there's always 64 buckets of, for example, resin ender, destabilized redstone, and maybe, of course, can't forget, I have Bob stuck here. Bob got stuck here, I'm not sure why. Jelly cryopium. Now, I didn't really need to make this ME fluid terminal, but I just wanted to make sure I know how to use this just in case for later on, different packs. And as you can see, most of my, or all of the fluids here exceed 64 buckets, especially lava for some reason. But I just want to make sure I have a stock of these here above 64 or at 64 buckets. So that's why I have these fluid level emitters here. And the reason why I made 3 machines instead of 1 of each, the reason is for stuff like hardened glass, so that when I make hardened glass, it is quick. As you can see, I made 20 hardened glass just like that. That was pretty quick. Same thing with the pulverizers and redstone furnaces to make bronze. Bronze is kind of a pain to make, so I have 3 of them here. 3 times more than 1. Now, that wasn't always the case in terms of a speedy autocraft, just because, like, for example, cryo-stabilized flux ducts, I had an issue with this where if I made like a stack, for example, most of the stack would enter 1 and it wouldn't spread out evenly between these 3. Not sure how I would fix that or how I would go about changing that in the future, but it's okay. I'm gonna leave it as is, but this was a learning experience for sure. And yeah, cable management, yeah, not too bad. Alright, over here I have Ender IO, auto crafting, alloy smelters, and the slice and splice machines. No, I didn't need 3. I could have used only 1. For some reason I have 3. And the alloy smelters each make a different type of alloy, but 3 times the rate instead of 1. Now, I could have used induction smelters instead of these because these are slow, even with the Andrio machine upgrades, the best type, this one here. Now, I decided just to leave it as is because I wanted to see if I can successfully autocraft with these machines, and I think I did for the most part. It is slow, but they all work. Over here, I have my mechanism autocrafting. This is a little bit of an interesting setup here. I have my Hall-ROM autocrafting here for my mechanism fusion reactor. And this is for producing... The setup is producing biofuel to make substrate and ethylene for liquid ethylene to create HDPE pellets. And that is turned into HDPE sheets for the solar neutron activator craft. So I think this is quite nice to have, just as this process is a little bit annoying to make these HDPE pellets to sheets, but I conquered that. And over here I have this setup where I have different crafts in each interface, from steel, enriched alloys, all kinds of alloys in the mechanism mod, and circuits too. Overall, I think I did a good job with this. It's laggy, so that's why I try to spread everything out. As you can see, not everything's close together though. Maybe I could have spread everything out a little bit more space, but this is a start. I think that's not too bad of a job I did. All right, over here, I'll show this off in a second. I have my molecular assembler room with the fluid assemblers as well. Now this is overkill because I only ended up using 6 patterns, 5 here and then 1 here. But I wanted it to look complete, and yeah, I mean, as you can see, it's even on each side. The number of molecular assemblers with interfaces and these as well. And you can't even see the cable because it's connected to the interface on the bottom. So yeah, I also made sure that I had nukes everywhere so that mobs don't spawn. F7, no spawning areas. Okay, and then over here, my storage drives, I try to make them look like server racks. Cave sound. Server racks, server room with my deep storage units. Overkill, just because I have stuff like dirt barely at 10,800. But they came quite in handy for cobblestone, and I just used this just in case if I wanted to play maybe an expert pack on 1.7. Now I know how to use these. And my previous playthrough, I had an issue with this where the priority wasn't at a level high enough where all or most or every like for example, an item would store here. But since in my previous playthrough I had a lower priority set, sometimes, for example, stone would enter the drives instead of here. But I think I fixed that. As you can see, I have 8.6 million stone. And if I check 8.6 million, it's almost the same amount. I think just a stack is actually stored here, and then the rest is stored here. And here I have my drives, as I mentioned already. Most of them are 16K, while the others are 64K. And one's already full here. And I also have one ME drive dedicated to only 16K fluid storage cells. Overkill because look, only one is taking up a drive. If I were to do this again, I would probably make a bigger space for this so that it's not as cramped, but not too bad of a design. Alright, that concludes all the auto crafting, I believe. I think it's now time to move on let's go upstairs. I have a staircase here, but I always use my jetpack. Just quicker that way. This goes up, and I had to clear an area here. This wasn't perfectly flat, and it had a bunch of pools that I had to close up or fill up, like water pools like this one. But this is my sugarcane and tree farms. Now, as you can see, I have one side, rubber farm and rubber tree farm, and the other side, an oak tree farm. Sugarcane here. As you can see in my wireless terminal, I have a lot of sugarcane and a lot of wood. Raw rubber. In my previous playthrough, I think I only had one setup like this, where one tree was a rubber tree and another one was an oak tree. Planter designated as oak tree and another designated as rubber. And I had a much smaller sugarcane farm, but I made two, so I wouldn't have to worry about paper or sugarcane in general. I don't even have to worry about sugar because my mob grinder has 146k thanks to all the witch spawners I used. And I have another world anchor here. If I go down here, you can see I have a bunch of things going on here. Sludge boilers, giving me things like clay, dirt, gravel, mycelium, netherite, you name it. And I have this set up in a way where the chest sends saplings to these planters, and the excess saplings, that is quite loud, the excess saplings go into the trash cans so that it doesn't fill up the diamond chest there. And then what I want to take out of the resource harvest, I send it into this chest here. Here's a filter. And then I have other ender chests. I'm standing over here because the sound is quite loud. Harvesting sound is quite loud. I have bone meal here on each side, and that goes into the autonomous activators here. So each time bone meal is used, the AE2 system crafts new bone meal and puts into these autonomous activators via the ender chests there. Overall, I think I like this setup much more than my previous playthrough setup. It's more organized, more spaced out, and looks clean, I think, overall. I made this big space down here, but I didn't use very much of it. That's just so I can have a lot of space to do maintenance or change up some configurations and whatnot down here. Now I'll show this a little later. This is my moon base entrance portal. Alright, it's a little bit laggy. Apologize. Go down. Alright, down this hallway, here's my first power room. I have this huge, intimidating looking big reactor, but it's producing steam. It used to produce 60 or 70 or 80,000 KRF a tick. I'm not too sure, but as you can see, it still has power in it. This produces steam from my 8 turbines back here. Now, I'll admit, I didn't make a big enough space for the turbines to comfortably fit. As you can see, there's some gaps over there, but it is what it is. Now, this was my first power source before I ran out of juice and I needed to add more power in some way. And I accomplished that with this. This used to be my primary source of power until I made 2 fusion reactors. But now this acts as my emergency backup power. Just because sometimes the fusion reactors turn off when I leave the world multiple times for many different sessions, and just keep supplying power to my AE2 system so that doesn't shut off. And as you can see, I'm using ludicrite blocks, 32 coils, I believe, 86 and 24, 32, yes. And each turbine produces 28,051 RF a tick. I believe that exceeds above 100k for sure, RF, so yeah, did the job done until I needed more power. That's why I got those fusion reactors. Not too bad of a setup. I think I did a good job setting these up. Um, yeah, it's not too messy here. And then last thing I want to show with this room, I have a way of automatically inserting the fuel, and then a way of automatically processing the byproduct into plutonium. I have a lot of plutonium, 2,678. This is so that I don't have to worry about the waste building up here. So yeah, that concludes that first power room of this section. All right, moving on down this hallway. Here is my first machine room. I have mechanism machines here. These are automatically producing things like stone, glass, sand, and from cobblestone to gunpowder. And that is why I have a crap ton of gunpowder here. This is the primary way of me producing gunpowder, and I have my mob grinder adding additional gunpowder. Now, as you can see, I have thermal expansion machines here, ender chests, or diamond chests, not ender chests. And if I hold the crescent hammer, as you can see, I have these covers from Ender.io and some from thermal expansion too, just so that I can hide the cables so it looks less ugly. Ender.io mechanism. I used to use this setup right here for 2 times ore processing. Not anymore, because now I have a 5 times ore processing setup that's automatically putting items into this AE2 system that I have here. Going back here, I have 8 lava fabricators putting lava into this igneous extruder, and that is how I am getting obsidian. I'm at 1.9 obsidian. Not too bad. Now over here, I have my cobblestone generator. Thanks to extra utilities, quite OP. Putting cobblestone into the ender chest to store at one of the deep storage units, and putting cobblestone into each of these machines here. Okay. And back here, I used to charge my tools manually here, and then now I found a way or made a way of charging it remotely. Like, for example, my jetpack is less than 50%. So if it's less than 50% charged, fully charged, it will put it in here, charge it, and then when it equals 100%, it puts it into the ender chest again for me to grab. I have a charging pouch and a send to AE2 storage. That's self-explanatory. So I put this here, it will take it, and we can see that it's actually charging. Not the quickest, but it's decently fast, as you can see. And then when it's done, it will put it here again, as you can see. So I can do this from any dimension because this base is chunk loaded. I don't have to worry about, using a tesseract and waiting for it to charge, when this is the fastest way, I think, versus flux capacitors here and energy cubes. All right, that concludes this area. Let's go over here. Power room number 2. I have my fusion reactors here, my laser amplifier setups. Not a big fan of how these are sticking out. I tried my best with hiding the holes here and there. And for some reason, every time I leave the world, these aren't connected anymore. But when I do that, kind of fixes it. Not really. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Oh well. Storing the energy to kickstart this. So as you can see, this fusion reactor is going nuts. The fusion is insanely fast versus this one. And that is because this one has an ejection rate of 98, producing 9.78 million RF tick. And this one over here is producing 20 million RF. Or, I wish. The ejection rate is 20 and it's 2 million RF. Got the numbers confused there. This one is the power source for the machines all around the base, and this one is for my laser drill farms and the lava fabricators. Down here I have my deuterium production set up for each separate fusion reactor, and I have right here quantum entanglement from a mining dimension that's always daytime, producing tritium going in up into the fusion reactors. And I just have a drawer right here where I can take a whole ROM and put DT fuel into it. And that's here just in case these shut off, which they do occasionally. I think that concludes this part of the base as well. I have elevator blocks here. More than enough space. Alright. It is laggy, so I try to make sure everything is spaced out. As you can tell here, power room number 1 here, number 2 here. Alright, moving on. I mean, doesn't this look cool, this corridor here, this hallway? I think it does. Machine room number 2. This is for Galacticraft stuff I did. And there's not too much going on here. If I go back here, you'll see I have a oil drum here. And that goes into these refineries. I have 4 of them. And I used to have 2 more drums here for a total of 4, but storing gasoline, I have 1 drum in my Galacticraft backpack. And 1 drum where my rocket silo is, or the launch pad. I have oxygen collector compressors here. 4 setups of that. So I can insert my heavy tank. And do it with 4 times more capacity. Or, yeah. I can put 4 of these instead of waiting for 1 at a time. Over here I have my electric compressors, just because it's very tedious to craft these rockets. A lot of metals and compressed resources, ingots like for some reason, yeah, palladium, red gem, norium. Very tedious this mod. More planets. Now, yeah, I'll admit this was kind of boring. I actually wanted to make a space station of some sort. I actually did make one here. It doesn't show up in this screen here. I did make one here, but I didn't want to do it just because I ran out of motivation. I mean, this world has been going on for so long. My day counter says 1,303. Of course, I gotta show the rocket silo here. This gets me to Series B, Tier 8 rocket. And I have my fuel loader here with the other drum here. Decent design. The only issue is that this alignment here, the rocket launch pad, is 3x3 and the door is 2x. Well, you can see here, and I broke the door. 2 blocks wide. But it's okay. Not a big deal. Now this gets me to Series B, as I said, I think. Series B is interesting. In real life, this is actually a dwarf star or something like that. It's blue, super hot. While it orbits, or, yeah, Sirius. Interesting dimension. Here's a picture of that. I like the size of Sirius and the color. It's beautiful, although repetitive, nothing to do there other than kill a boss and just see the sun that's somehow not burning you, the Sirius sun star. Alright, on the subject of galactic craft, let me go back to my farm. Here's the moon base entrance. And let's make sure I have thermal padding protection. Alright, and here's my dome. Oh, the day counter is messed up. Oh well. That's unfortunate. As you can see, this is where I stayed. So I can AFK for fallen meteors. Just because that is a painful part of Galacticraft, having to AFK for those fallen meteors to make compressed meteoric iron. And there are quite a bit of craters here. Quite a few craters. This is what I was talking about. Fallen meteor, if I break it, well, not with a silk touch pickaxe, but with this fortune, sometimes I get one or two. There's another one right here. As you can see, that is painfully slow, but this is how I overcame that. And I have a chunk loader here, and I made sure that no mobs can enter through the doors to kill me. I would just AFK here and wait for a bunch of meteors. That is the moon base, and I have this set up here so I can breathe and don't have to worry about dying, running out of oxygen. Alright, finally, here is the mob grinder room. It's like 4 chunks big, size F9. It is chunk loaded, each chunk here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit laggy here. The FPS does drop quite a bit. But there's a lot of activity going on here. And got a rude interruption from a cave sound. I have a bunch of bedrockium drums here. Lots of mop essence, liquid XP. I used to have these drums here, but over time they would accumulate and fill up completely, and I didn't want to cause a bunch of lag because a bunch of orbs are stuck there and these fill up. So I added these extra utilities, trash cans that delete fluids. And the reason that because I have this setup that I found on Reddit, which is pretty nice. Cleavers, and then they use modifiers such as flux, lapis, and quartz for charging, looting 3 drops for more drops, and sharpness, so they do enough damage to kill the mobs one hit them. Now how this works is if this cleaver, for example, the power charge is less than 25%, it will send it to here, charge it, and then send it back once it equals 100%. And that's the same for every cleaver here. Every cleaver is the same for the most part, with the exception of this setup here. It's unique. It spawns wither skeletons for wither skeleton skulls. Now this cleaver here, it's quite different from the rest because it has beheading 100% chance. That means I always get a single wither skeleton skull. This less damage versus the other cleavers, but it gets the job done. And this setup is slower compared to the mob spawners, just because it requires and relies on mob essence to spawn them in these auto spawners with safari nets, 4 of them. Now, as you can see, I've used open blocks fans and those immersive engineering conveyor belts, I think. This is the main grinder here, and I say that because this is where I get most of my drops, different types of drops, and the Enderman drops especially. I have spawners down there, spawning Endermen, 4 of them. And you notice that I don't have nearly as many Ender Pearls as I do with things like drops like string or bones. Neither. Blizz rods, all the different types of rods, but that's okay. Now I have 2 there just so that I can keep up. And if I go down, I have elevators here. Try to make everything nice, organized, and compact. Simple sorting system here. Trash cans and ender chests. And right here I have my wither block, wither killer from Practicalities. I didn't find a way to automate this, so I didn't bother with that, but I mean, as you can see, I've got more than enough nether stars from this. Now, if I had RF tools, I would make a wither skeleton, wither farm. But this is the best thing I can do in this pack. Look at that ceiling. Quite nice. I like the design of that. I have a bunch of machines here. And yeah, I think that just about wraps up the mob farm area. Nothing too crazy. I have these levers here. Control the fans if I need to turn them off. New maintenance. Yeah, okay. Alright, moving on. Let's see. What else can I talk about? I have not talked about the portal to the last millennium dimension. Let's go. Bear with me. Frame drop. Alright. As you can see, look at this behemoth here. This is a laser drill farm. I have 64 of them. In my last playthrough, here's an image of my previous setup. I had 48 of them, I think. But there's 64 here. Different types of ores are mined here. Such as lead, silver, gold, copper, tin, and the most notable being emerald, coal, redstone, diamond, and platinum, or shiny metal. 64 laser drills, and this is the only build that actually uses gelid cryophium flux ducts, just because they're expensive. I think I used like 12 stacks or around that amount. Expensive setup, but man, it's good. And to process all those ores, I have ore processing here, but I have a simple, effective way of sorting all the ores. Ender chests here and filters. Different types. Now this one here, gold, lead, copper, iron, tin, osmium, and silver go into the 5 times ore processing. And for some reason I have a backup on tin. There's tins being backed up here. Almost clogging the chest, or starting to. And then I have a trash can here, deleting all the biomes of plenty ores that I don't want, and firestone ore from Railcraft. And I have this here, Quantum Link. The other one is obviously in the overworld under my AE2 hub. And this is here so just so that I can add things or make changes I needed to, if I need to. Such as if I wanted to add more chemical crystallizer lines here, and that's what I did for copper and iron, just because I was getting a lot of iron for some reason, and it was filling up this chest here. Now, for some reason, it has gone to tin. Now, each crystallizer focuses on one ore at a time. One specific ore, or I should say, like silver, osmium, etc. Gold. And that is so that I don't have to deal with uneven amounts that might clog the crystallizers. Like this is uneven. Like for example, if I had osmium going through this and the silver was stuck at this amount, it would cause a huge backup, but I got a little smarter and figured this out with the design here. And then I have my 5 times ore processing here. The reason why I have 2 of these setups here instead of 1 is because sometimes, since there are 7 plus 2, 9, multiple stacks, or let's say iron crystals would occupy 2 slots, and then every other slot would be occupied. It'd be a backup, like maybe osmium. I would start making a stack here and then slow it down here, and maybe slow it down here as well. But I have 2 here just in case not enough slots available. And then these when they're done processing, they go into these unifiers, and those that don't need to be unified go into here, so I don't have conflicts. Like I have 2 types of coppers, 2 types of leads. I don't want that. That's why I stick with thermal expansion, silver, lead, tin, something like that. Meanwhile, up here, I have ore processing for the other resources that cannot be multiplied times 5, but they can be multiplied times 2, or over here, redstone, I get 12, yada yada yada. I have these ores here doubled. Yeah, a lot of things going on here. I have a lot of cobalt, almost at copper, cobalt and ardite in dust form. And as you can see, what I find hilarious is that you can get Desh ore from the laser drills. So who needs to go to Mars when you can just get Desh ore, Desh ingots all day long, and iridium for some reason from more planets. Aluminum, 2 types of aluminums here, Galacticraft core and Tinker's Construct aluminum, and raw silicon. And cheese. Oh, I love cheese. Cheese curds. Oh, I don't got an appetite right now for that. I don't have space. Yeah. This is my laser drill farm, ore processing. Not too bad of a setup. It's laggy, causes frame drop, so that's why I didn't want to put in my base, even though I wanted to do that, just to have everything together. But this is fine. I wanted to spread everything out. Less TPS issues or something like that. Not too much of a frame drop here. Most of the frame drop, though, is from these mechanism conduits and pipes. Alright, goodbye. Now, for some reason, when I go back to the overworld, I get teleported there instead of my home base. The location of the portal. Yeah, I don't know why that happens. I go back in. Go down here. Yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be teleported back, where I would be teleported back, but for some reason that's not the case. Alright. Can't forget the mining dimension world. Let's go into it. As you can see, I think I did a good job of separating everything. Like, this dimension handles the tritium production. I have a huge buffer here, maybe overkill with all these towers here. But this is for the fusion reactors, and sometimes it rains here, even though it's always noon. So I have this buffer here so that my fusion reactors don't run out of tritium. And over here I have my brine towers. This goes to the 5 times ore processing. I have 4 just in case, so that the 5 times ore processing can keep up, and they can, thanks to this setup. And of course, these are chunk loaded, thanks to Railcraft World Anchors. Okay, let's go back. Okay. Time for some lore. The world has some lore. Now, I used to have 3 chickens, as I mentioned earlier. Bob's over there, somewhere over there. And, Pat. Pat used to be my first chicken. Pat got stuck here, but Pat's gone now. I don't know what happened to Pat. Poor Pat. Pat must have despawned, died, or something like that. I didn't kill Pat. I would never do that. I miss Pat. He would stand right here, plopping eggs, kind of a joke thing. But it's okay. I still have Rob and Bob. I brought Rob and Bob in when they were babies. Down there. And I accidentally spawned in another baby chicken. Oh well. I guess he'll stay here forever. Alrighty. Anyways, I think that just about wraps it up. That was quite the tour there, I would say so. A lot of things going on, and overall, looking at all the things I did, great job on base building. Maybe in terms of this design and layout, I would spread things out even further, so I would have less issues, I think. Or not. But my FPS is decent here. And the machine layouts and the auto crafting, I think that's pretty good. Much better than last time. Last time was just a nightmare. I didn't really like that base. Here's a picture of that base. Oof. Ugly. In my opinion, but we all have to start somewhere, right? You start learning somewhere. Now, I don't know what I would do from here. Maybe later on I'd play expert packs or something like that and see if I can just do something better, like an even better base or more sophisticated auto crafting and whatnot. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed that little base world tour video. Little, it's like almost an hour long. Yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.